Hello, everyone, and welcome to Inner Secrets Revealed Kabbalah class with Dr. Gil. Welcome back, everybody, and thanks for everyone who is just joining us for the first time. Whether you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Spotify, or our new app, which will be up and running within the next few months, or whether you're listening to the replay from this podcast, thank you for joining us. Remember, first we will be having our lecture portion of the podcast, and then we will open up lines to discussion and to answer any questions during the interactive portion during the class. If you could please be so kind as to keep yourselves muted until the interactive portion, we would greatly appreciate that, so we could keep everything organized and allow us to teach and learn from one another more efficiently. If you have any questions, you could also feel free to write them in the group chat or send them to either me or Dr. Gil in a direct message, and we will be sure to do our best to address them during the interactive portion. So we have a great episode ahead of us today. This week, we will be discussing the power and role of archangels in our lives, the ones from the light and divine, and the ones from the negative and evil in disguise, and how to tell the difference between the two. Okay. So, again, please remember to keep yourselves muted until the lecture portion of the class. And, again, without further ado, here is Dr. Gil. Dr. Gil, everybody.
Good evening to you all. Good evening, my friend Michael Ray. So my name is Dr. Gil Tivon, and I'll be your lecturer for this session today. And this is a topic that was suggested today, so that's the best, because it will be just a nice dialogue, which I had prepared, of course. And this is a very, very deep subject that goes back thousands of years. So let's start from the end. The end is that we all know that not everything that we see face value exactly works this way. And many times we are familiar with feeling that some kind of inner intuition is guiding us, protecting us away from danger, away from boarding an airplane or Titanic or 9/11 or all And if you have any questions, please write it to the chat, and I or Mike later on try to address as many as possible. So, what are archangels? First of all, what is an angel? In the Hebrew and in the Kabbalah, we know that the word for work is melacha, which means it's a work with the letter hey, which means we execute something, we bring it into this world. The word for an angel is malach, which means it is somebody who does a certain given role, but he is, even though their mind of the angels and their knowledge and the ability to see the spiritual world is way beyond ours, and the size of theirs is also discussed in the Talmud, and it says that normal angel is some 8,000 miles wide, and 8,000 miles high. That means that he is bigger than planet Earth. So when we see around different kind of forces in the world, and we ask ourselves, this is too big or we cannot measure, we cannot detect it, such as gravitation. We don't know where it comes from. It's very much still a difficult puzzle to fathom it scientifically. The Holy Zohar and other Kabbalistic books tell us this is an archangel in charge of it. So the beautiful thing is as follows. Each archangel has a very specific kind of task. Not one angel can do another task. It's not like human beings. For example, so the three most vivid and famous archangels will be Michael, like masquerade, Michael, which is the angel in charge of compassion. Whenever you're saved, whenever your flight engine got on fire and you just happened to land after main and everything is great, your child's stroller ran into the road and some unknown being stopped it. That's Michael. He's in charge of all compassion. When somebody was in coma and nearly died from COVID and he miraculously recovered, that is definitely Michael. When you want to get married and something happens and at last you do find the right girl, you do get married and she comes on time, comes to the wedding, that is. Everything works out, that is Michael. When it comes to any kind of judgment, when it comes to fires, when it comes to accidents, car accidents, death, etc., then we're looking at Gabriel. Now, he's not a bad archangel. We don't attribute that role to him. He's just a beautiful angel, holy angel, that's the task that God gave him to do. You ask yourself a very interesting question. Why on God's earth am I deserving this one? My name is running every Monday and Thursday to Dubai, and it's full of prosperity and money and happiness, and I suffer so much. And the answer is that's not true. We bring upon ourselves our own judgment, our own karma, our own destiny. Whenever we blame God, God sits there and laughs. He's very humble. We create our own karma, as we will see in this lecture. Therefore, if you want to deserve archangels to protect you, instead of bringing judgment, let's do kind deeds. Let's be compassionate. Let's do beyond the letter of the law. Yes, you don't deserve it. Nevertheless, I'm going to be kind to you, even though you don't deserve it. And therefore, measure for measure, God is going to be very kind to you and send you one of the archangels to protect you. It's a very simple rule of thumb. And instead of blaming others, let us start to be in charge, which means implicitly, and that's an incredible secret that the Holy Zohar tells us, we, even though we're very small, we are in this small little body on earth, but our soul is so infinite and large and huge. We are the only ones around in creation. There can be other aliens around, but the only ones around in creation are human beings who have free choice. An archangel does not have a free choice. When you see the archangels, the three of them, we're going to discuss the third one now, coming to turn around Sodom and Gomorrah, they said, we cannot do something else. So this is what God tells us, that this is what we have to do. They did not have free choice. While the prophet Isaiah says, I will give you the way to walk between those who stand. Standing up, not being able to move, is what we attribute to angels because they are three-dimensional creations, they are incredibly wise, incredibly spiritual, They see beyond us, but they don't have free choice. Therefore, they are considered unmovable because they have to do only one task. When it comes to us, I can choose good and bad. I can surprise you and can be a very good person. I can surprise myself and say, I don't want to shut my mouth or curse or gossip or be evil or steal or kill or whatever the Ten Commandments and others. So this is the free choice as human beings that we, which is much greater than the archangels. Coming back to, let me summarize. It will be very, very clear. First one is Michael, is in charge of compassion. The second one is Gabriel, who is in charge of all the judgments, all the punishments, all the terrible things that happen in this world. However, when we have dreams, which we discussed previously, the surprise is all dreams, the one who's in charge of is Gabriel. And therefore, many times we have very frightening kind of dreams. And sometimes it's very harsh and very tough, and they show us things. When it's good or bad, that's what we see. You can just mute yourself. I'll be very appreciative, and then I'll mute myself when it comes to my 750, and I'll just listen to you, whatever you have to say. So let's respect each other. Thank you. So as long you can write it into the chat, and later on at 750 you can shout your heart out as much as you want. The third archangel is Raphael. Raphael is a very special name. It comes from the Hebrew, which means refuah, which means healing. Anytime we go to a great doctor, we feel that actually being with this doctor, it's not something which is psychosomatic. We already start to feel better. And the truth is that's true, because Raphael, the archangel, is there to start the healing the minute we step into that office. When we come to the right person, to the right doctor, and he's got a really incredible reputation, and he's a good, serious doctor, right? Behind him, the Archangel Raphael is right there to help us. There was an incredible woman lately in the States, she's a very God-fearing woman. She's very rich, and old. She needed the open heart surgery, and she called best surgeon in the States, whatever his name is, which is right now confidential. And she said to him, listen up, doctor, I'm very rich. He says, I know, that's why you're speaking to me privately. And I'm going to have an open heart surgery, so just watch it because it's my life. Absolutely, ma'am, don't worry, I did it so many times. I do it with my closed eyes. So she said to him this follow, listen up. If you are not successful and I will die, it's not your fault. This is God's action, and the Archangel Raphael didn't intervene. He said, that's not going to happen on my watch because I'm the best. He said, but listen up. If you are successful, it's also not you. It's God and the Archangel Raphael. And then he was really upset and frustrated with that. So the point being that we have these incredible, huge forces which are way beyond us. But when we look at this first chapter, not the first chapter, but the first section of the book of Genesis, we are told, and man was breathed in. The living soul inside him and became a living soul. Now, in the Hebrew, the living soul means that Kabbalistically is being translated, he is the one who is making up and giving life to all the worlds. So you, the smallest that you think that you are, you got so much power when you sit down there and you open your Psalms book and you say Psalm 23, right? Even though I walk in the shadow of the valley of death, I will fear no evil, whatever it is, and you really cry from your heart, you do good action, or you give some charity, whatever it is you do, you can call upon, you can summon those archangels to be at your help. Now, some of us, I in particular, humbly yours, I also teach channeling. Now, when it comes to channeling, we are very afraid, and that's part of this lecture today, that maybe we're not dealing only with good forces, good angels, maybe, these are devious, evil angels, and they are such, and we will discuss them now, that they are pretending to be Archangel Michael, with a sword in the hand and all good. But seriously and really, they are very evil. Where do we find that? This is very interesting. So, a few things to mention. There's one particular portion in Genesis where Jacob is very petrified and afraid of the meeting with his own twin brother, who is very evil, Esau. It says he sent to him real angels. what does it mean, real angels? I would love to have the two. Instead of having a few guns around the house, I would love to have a few angels that I can send out in case I'm afraid. And the answer is, that's what Kabbalah tells us, from the incredible good actions he did so many years, he created incredible, big, huge angels. And they pushed and they nudged Esau and they told him, be very careful, my friend, if you touch this man, God help you. So we can create incredible angels and good angels by our action. They are not archangels. They are simple angels, which means lower hierarchy, but still they have power to protect us and to govern the road, or protect us from wars, or protect us when we go into competition or into business, whatever it is that you want to achieve. And we'll discuss it towards the end of the lecture. How do you produce them? However, that night he went back to get a few little things, and then he met a terrible evil angel, and that name is that we usually don't say the full name of that angel, but that's really the angel of death, or should we call him satanic kind of angel. And that is the angel of Esau, because since he's an evil person, that's who he summons. And they had all know the story. And at the end, Jacob was successful. However, he managed to really take out his ischias, which is right, the skin from his right foot, and he was limping till the morning. Now, that kind of archangel is an angel which can summon men and ladies and children, and whenever we are tempted, and it's every day, million times, to do evil, to speak evil, to stray away with our eyes, with our money, with our thoughts, with anything that we use, anything that we do, we summon, we allow, we open that gate for that terrible archangel to visit us. The truth is that we all have evil inclination, and that evil inclination resides inside us. But once we negate it, once we are stronger, and we are stronger, we can always say no, because that evil inclination is called really an urge. Now, an urge is much less than a feeling. We are feeling human beings. You have a free choice. You have a mind, you have a heart, which is so wonderful and beautiful, and you have a choice. You have feelings and emotion. An urge is much lower. If you have an urge for a cigarette, or for psychedelics, or for whatever it is that you want to do, it's just an urge. So if you are in a company of people, you will definitely not want to portray your urge, because that's nothing to be done in public. So if you get this urge, rather be in public. The minute that you succumb to that urge, you open that door for that evil kind of archangel to do whatever he wants with you. So he's the one who tempts you, that's the Zohar. The one who tempts you, the one that will judge you, and the one who will punish you at the same time. Moreover, whenever we do something terrible, right, we create bad angels, and those bad angels actually prosecute us. When? The same day, and they come to us after death, and that's Kabbalah, and they call Father, Father, because we fuel them up, we create them, and they can damage our children. That's one of the secret Kabbalistic reasons. One, when a person dies, his own children do not walk after his bed, if he's very, very close by, because they can be damaged by those angels that this person, his own actions have created. It was recently a story of a certain man who died. They buried him, they didn't cremate him, and as soon as the family opened the grave and wanted to bury him inside, huge rats, and that's not a myth, that's not a legend. People saw it in film there 2-3 years ago. Huge rats came from the side, inside the sides of this dug up hole in the ground. So they quickly dug another one, and new rats came. So some Kabbalists passed by, because they were in the graveside, and said, quickly bury him and shut it down. So the family asked, what did he do? Why? We've never seen, we are petrified, the biting into his body. So he said, this man used to lend people with great interest in the life, and if they wouldn't pay, that's the black markets, the mafia, the kuzu, they will really punish him with broken bones, this man. So this man, even though he was very rich, corrupted. As soon as he died, though this is measure for measure, those rats are coming to show that they're biting into him like he was biting into people and stealing the money away because they couldn't afford otherwise. No, these are not interest rates of the bank, which is 6 or 7%. These are interest rates of 20 and 40%, which I have some clients and patients like this that had to pay and came back to me with broken bones and broke and black and blue eyes. Seriously. So the point being that we should not allow to open this door. Where do we find the source for this? Give us a source. When you see Cain really was very jealous of his brother Abel. Incredibly jealous. The truth is that he deserved it. What did he do before? Abel was a kind of a guy that brought the best, and he sacrificed it to God. While Cain said, well, what's left over from supper, from dinner, let's bring this to God. And therefore he deserved his own reasoning and his own kind of karma when God did not take up his own sacrifice. This incredible level of these two people being prophets and being able to discuss and speak directly to God, which we don't have in our day and age. Therefore Abel stood up and killed his brother. Before this, he's very, very angry, very jealous, very frustrated. And God tells him the follows: why do you worry so much? If you are sinning, if you tempted, if you open the door, that terrible archangel, which I'm going to write into, if I can, into the chat room, please do not say that name, because that name is a name that when you say it, you call that name. So please do not say that name. This is the name. But that name means, in the original Kabbalistic Hebrew, it means that one that blinds you from being able to see the truth. The one that blinds you. And we all have blind spots, but he makes sure that you don't see the truth anymore. You're so tempted by what you see. And I deal a lot with people like this. We deal in our clinic with people that go gambling, or we know about a certain very famous doctor in the States who confessed, he's in his 80s, very famous, who confessed himself that he, while being in OBGYN and delivering a certain baby from a certain woman, he rushed in the middle of delivery because he was a shopaholic. Couldn't stop himself. So it comes to the stage when we neglect patients, when it's life endangering, because a person has a shopaholic kind of urge inside him. And then we ask ourselves, why do we have this kind of thing? So, by the way, if people think and are still too naive to think that there's evil in this world, well, I don't know if you lived long enough, you've been in business long enough, but I have. And so I've seen enough. This reincarnation, previous reincarnations, there's real evil around you. See how many wars, how many bloodshed. We didn't forget yet. The taste is still in our mouth and heart of the previous Holocaust of 6 million people, 40 million people that were wiped out in Europe, of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. That was a reaction. But many, many things were done in the world by one singular person that was so evil that annihilated or did genocide to so many people because of his own grandeur, because of his own reason and need to have power over others. So there is real evil. And if you watch, if you're in the business world, you will definitely know that there's lots of corruption, lots of deviousness, lots of underhand by many people every day. And we don't leave it just to the police to deal with gangsters and robbers. Evil really is there. So if we summarize, we see that there's good and evil, and that's the way it has to be. Why is it this way? The reason is because this world is very much balanced. We cannot just create good, because then what does God need us for? We need to be able to choose. How can I pull the chains of good and evil? Well, it depends on me. If I'm tempted to my urges, when I'm the loser, and I'm really going to call that name that I wrote up there, right, which means the actual Satan's name. And by the way, he's got a wife, kind of say. He's got a female co-partner, a contemporary. The female's name, we shouldn't use and say, is that is again in the ancient Kabbalah in Hebrew. That's her name, and we don't not allowed to say her name. Now, she usually tempts men that bring upon themselves pornography and all kind of things that men do with themselves. No, seriously, then they bring upon themselves these kind of things. Sometimes a person can be watching, especially men, all kind of things during the day, all kind of sites, social media today, just one click and you're right there. And then nothing happened, but during the night in the dream, a person can have a visitor, and that visitor is this wonderful, I'm being cynical, archangel who's the female partner of the first one which I wrote before. So it's too far up for you to see, so I'll write it again. That was the other archangel, we shouldn't say his name. And, sorry, you can take over there. Let me do it again. And that's the partners. That's Mr. Jack and Dr. Hyde, the two guys that we do not want to see. However, we do know that there's an interior minister archangel, which is one of the biggest. And I think we all heard the name. And to the effect that he is really so huge in the world, and I'll explain his background, that sometimes in the past, great people were mistaken to think great people means giants, prophets, that they're mistaken, that thought maybe he's God. So great he is. That name again, do not say name. I'm going to write it with a dash in the middle that you don't say his name. Right, that's his name. That's an archangel that is one of the largest archangels ever. And the reason is as follows. There was a man living in this world that was very, very pious and good. His job was just a simple shoemaker, but he was so holy that every time, in those days, there weren't machines, to sew up shoes. It wasn't just, a line. He had to sit there for many, many hours and days to make up your shoes. And it was tailor-suited, customized to you. His name was Enoch, right? And that Enoch, right, or in the actual Hebrew, it comes from, let me write it like this, Henoch, or Hanoch, whichever way you used to it is fine. And this one was very holy man. For that time and age, he passed away relatively early. If Noah died at the age of almost 900, he died at 350, which means like today, 35. Quite young. So when he died, when we take from this world, if we were very good people, Mama Teresa, all kind of great people, Mahatma Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, no, seriously, people from around the world, makes no difference who they are, what religion, but they chose to be good. They chose to save many people. They chose to be an advocate, Martin Luther King, to be an advocate for many good people, and to do good, right? Benjamin Franklin, George Washington, etc. And James Madison, the forefathers of the American nation were good people. They were really good people. Those people, the minute that they pass away, their role is not finished. Then they turn into a very large angel protecting the people that in this lifetime they protected physically or mentally or emotionally. They turn into angel. If you suspect that or doubt that, I will show it in nature to you. We take this simple silkworm, and when she had enough of being a silkworm, when God says enough is enough, then she shuts herself into this cocoon, and out comes a butterfly. In other words, this is a metamorphosis. This is a real transformation from somebody who's a reptile, crawling, no wings, shutting himself in a cocoon, from our perspective like a coffin of death, and out comes a shining butterfly that is able to fly. Now, if you had to imagine, and Mike asked me before the lecture, what pictures shall you send me? The answer is, it's your wild imagination. Any pictures that we think of archangels, usually we'll think of a winged archangel being able to fly, and this is what the prophet Ezekiel tells us. He says he's got 6 wings, 2 to cover his face, 2 to cover his body, and 2 to cover his feet. So this is above imagination to try and fathom, 6 wings that can barely do with 2 legs and 2 hands. But the wings represent the ability to fly, to take off on a different level. Very much like birds do, and very much like the silkworm can change its status. Goes through transmutation and become a butterfly from being just a silkworm. So this is what happens to great people. That Enoch, when he passed away, turned, that's the Holy Zohar tells us, this is prophecy. It's not 1 + 1 = 2. It's not philosophizing. It's not human knowledge. It's above imagination to know what the Kabbalah means, handed by traditions, through prophets, through archangels themselves, that Enoch turned into this incredible angel which is called Matat-1. And he is the largest one. We had 4 people in history that knew how to do Merkaba. Merkaba means using certain kind of incantations, holy names, etc., to do in certain kind of sacred geometry, which once I used to teach and no more, because some people abuse that kind of knowledge, so we don't want to give this knowledge to any kind of person. So it's done, it's shut, But if you know what to do to get into the Merkaba, and there's different kind of incantations of the holy names of God, and part of it we're going to learn as we go along. There are 72 names, but this is simple compared to the Merkaba. And then they elevated the soul, they went out of the body, left the body behind, and went up to the higher worlds. One of them met that archangel, Metat-1. He was so petrified, he was so awed, he was so amazed and in awe of this archangel, he suspected that maybe this is God. And he said, well, there are 2 beings up there. There's God, deity, and there's Matat-1, deity as well. And he lost his mind. When he came back, he lost his mind. And so he lost his mind completely. So it's better not to do. And we are given in Kabbalah exactly what to do and how to do. And please do not push me, press me to tell you how, because I myself have not done it, because I'm too petrified and I'm scared myself with such big people. Went astray and lost their mind. I'm too small and too naive not to follow suit. So it's possible to see them, but it's better not. We should just know that they very much exist. And so previously, one of the ladies wrote that she experienced that in her own life. Now, there is one angel which is incredible, and that's Elijah. Elijah wasn't really an archangel, he was a prophet. Elijah was a prophet. But it's the only person in history that the Bible says that when his student, when his disciple, when his follower came to see him, he went out of this world on chariots of fire to the sky. So, first it's a nice myth and story. But then if you say that it's a nice myth and story, say it about your own religion and the people that you believe in, that everything is a nice myth and story, we can burn it up. We don't. So either we believe all this or we don't. But we do know Kabbalistically that Elijah the prophet became a living angel, meaning he's got the ability to transcend this world and again come back to this world in human form. If you doubt that, go again back to the forefather Abraham, when he's got 3 visitors. Who are these 3 visitors? This part says Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and they dress up in human form. They look to him like humans, but he realizes their divinity. The same with Samson's prophet later and the judge mother. She saw an archangel who came to tell her, you will fall pregnant and your child must be a monk, not drink any wine, not eat any grapes, and grow up his hair, never touch his hair. And he became one of the heroes of the Bible, because there was a prophecy before that he is forthcoming, this incredible soul. So Elijah the prophet transcended this world, but he is allowed by God to come back to this world. If you want to merit such a thing, it is absolutely possible. If you go beyond the letter of the law, if somebody really deserves, that all your wrath to go on them, and you hold back, and you shush, and you go beyond the letter of the law, the good actions, even with somebody or in a situation that does not deserve it, and you do it consistently, you will deserve not only incredible grace and compassion from the divine, but you can definitely deserve also a revelation of Elijah. Now I must tell you, I took once a group in Jerusalem of my students, to the old city of Jerusalem, and we walked around and we saw different kind of things there. We took a special tour guide. I'm not very familiar with the old city, but the holy places that I'm more familiar with. And we went to a certain old Kabbalist place 400 years ago, place, a holy place, and they took us to a little room, and I have never felt like this, not before, not after. That incredible holiness. What is this room? Who's sitting in this room? And so the guy told us that some 400 years ago, this incredible Kabbalah sat there, and he achieved such high levels that he was able to partner up and see every night in a revelation, Elijah the prophet, who sat with him in the tomb. He said, as a relation, the two cups in the tomb. The people from the hearts had to wash them day and night. They saw one person in the room. And so they wondered, why the two cups? Two cups so wide in the room, they're made of wood. Till this very day, the museum which is shut down, that you're allowed to access the room, then outside and just experience and feel that incredible holiness there. And Elijah the prophet was in the room many, many times. And so something of that impression of this holiness, you can definitely feel. So if you ever visit the old city of Jerusalem, ask for that special room to see it, to feel, and you will definitely be able to feel that. Now, to summarize, it's as follows. There are many days that we feel very drained. We feel worn out. We say, well, I haven't gone today to run, to fitness, and done so much hard work. The weather is great. I ate well. Why do I feel so tired and exhausted? Many times it's because of outside forces that are pressing you because of all kinds of evil forces around you or negative forces that are draining your power. One of them is if we ourselves deserve it and we do not such good deeds. The other thing, which is very important, and that we know Kabbalistically, evil eye, that's something that kills. A few years back, I watched part of The Voice. There was a very nice young gentleman over there, Afro-American. He was a hunk. And I'm straight, he was a hunk. He was a student of medicine, and he sang incredibly, and everyone fell in love with him. A week later, after he went to the next stage, he was killed in a car accident, terrible car crash here in the States. So we do know that evil eye does kill. What can you, in other words, if other people or also angelical powers are very jealous of you, then they can cause you damage or drain your energy. Look at what the great legendary Cristiano Ronaldo writes. I never share anything positive or great about what I do, about my wife and children. Why not? It says, because I only share jokes that I am. Because the minute that I start to share how much I am and what I do and how many cars and my kids and my wife, etc., then all hell breaks loose. And we saw lately that all hell broke loose in his life, and he is no more the old Cristiano Ronaldo that this world was so amazed by for so many years. So how do we prevent it? We're not supposed to be paranoid and not do anything with our lives, but don't go out and exemplify how much money you have and how beautiful you are and how in love you are with your wife and how many beautiful, brilliant children you have and how many cars and a big, large bank account you have. Just be humble. Be humble and let other people be on the show, and then you don't draw on yourself this terrible kind of evil, especially if you're rich, especially if you're smart, especially if you're beautiful, especially if you are talented. Keep that kind of thing for yourself and for your loved ones in your family. And you see that with the two brothers, Jacob and Esau. Esau was always jealous. You see with the twin brothers, Abel and Cain. Cain was so jealous of him that he stood up and killed him. Esau wanted very much for many years to kill Jacob, but he was talented and smart and wonderful and goody. Try to stay humble, try to not go around. There's no need for that. And if you think about it, it's a law of nature. Just like water always will go down to a lower place, so does wisdom go down to somebody who is humble. But if you're full of yourself, there is no place in your cup to feel any more knowledge because you're full of your own ego. But if you're humble, you say, what do I know? The greatest of knowledge is to know that we don't know. The more you know, the more you realize that you don't know. The more beautiful you are, say, well, I'm sure there's somebody more beautiful, smarter, brighter, richer than me. And there will always be. And you stay humble with it, like Sarah. was an incredibly beautiful woman. Nevertheless, she always covered herself. She was very modest. Then you will reach heights, and she was a prophetess that God says, she's a greater prophet than you, Abraham. Please live up to your own wife. So we are exactly on time. I think I said quite a lot. And now let me just see a few questions here. I didn't have time to do the reading as I was bringing up the information. Let's go back a little bit to listen to your question. There's from top to bottom to top, because that's what I see in front of me. One of you, James, and thank you so much everyone for coming, is asking question: are humans really totally deprived or depraved? Calvin saw men as being totally depraved, and with that meaning that man's nature is corrupt, perverse, and sinful throughout. And the answer is not really, and that is we are given the free choice. If I behave like an animal, I have not used my free choice. Because naturally I have urges. We all need to eat, we all need to go to the restroom, we all need to sleep. So we all need to have the money, we all have the urge of survival. This is normal. This is normal. You all have anger issues, frustration, sadness, happiness, fear. This is very normal. When we rise above this, when we go the extra mile, and I think I posted today everywhere around that thing of going and stretching yourself beyond your comfort zone, then you show your greatness. If God forbid I hate you, that's natural, and I'm very sorry. But if you forgive me, that is divine. If you go the extra mile, you don't have to do that. You can definitely go beyond your nature. This is why we human beings are not animals. I see that Lisa replied to James, unable to be saved unless predestined by God. I don't personally believe that, though. And the answer is that's true. In other words, Kabbalah tells us if we don't supervise and govern our own actions, why should God intervene? You know, if you drive 120 miles next to a school when you're like 25 and you go through a red robot and then the policeman stops you and you say, why did you stop me? You're supposed to protect me. I'm supposed to protect the public away from you. So if we do protect ourselves and we do govern our own actions, then archangels and God will protect us. But if we don't keep negligent, if we reckless in what we do, if we corrupt and if we don't care, then we only hurt ourselves and many people around. Let me just scroll back up. Mike is asking, if the evil archangel does not have free will, why does he opposes God? Does God not want to oppose? And the answer is this is a very good question. You see that in the East, and I just came 2 months ago back from Japan, which I respect and love very much, Japan, China, everyone in the world. We're all children of God and we all are humans. We all love creations. But nevertheless, the sign in the East is the yin and yang, which means the some good in the evil and some evil in the good. And many, many people till today very much believe that the two deities that oppress or they are adversaries of each other. There's the evil, which is incredible deity, and then God, which is all good. And the answer is no way. That doesn't work this way. We clearly told in the book of Job, there's only one deity. We know today in quantum physics, I should know as a scientist, there's only one being permeating the entire universe, one consciousness, all good. And we spoke about it in the first few lectures. The will of God is only to do good to you. However, in order for the world to be balanced, in order for us to have free will, in order for this life to be a real challenge and a challenging game, there needs to be also an evil urge inside us. And that evil urge was created by God. And the purpose of it, and the Holy Zohar tells us, every day that evil angel he's an angel. But every day he prays to God and says, please do not let me be successful deceiving people. Because if we succumb to him, then he punishes us and he's our own Satan and he's our own punisher. So his whole purpose is to stay on. And sometimes it's very difficult. Because if I see my adversary in front, if I play tennis with somebody, he's not my enemy, my adversary, I see exactly what he's going to do. But when that evil inclination resides inside me, when I cannot see that spiritual force, it's very confusing. And that's the name of the game. And most people through their life, till old age sometimes, don't understand how to hold back on the own evil inclination or that spiritual force, which is out there only to try us, not to make us fall. But it's an archangel from God, a very important one, and our whole purpose is to turn it around. That's why we call it in Kabbalah tikkun. I'll write it into the chat. That's why it's called tikkun. Tikkun means that we need to rectify that power. That's exactly our task, to spin that part, to accept it, to understand the edge, to accept it as a given, and to negate it, to go opposite, to turn it around. I don't have to shout at you. I don't have to punch you. I don't have to steal from you. I don't have to envy. I can. But I don't have to. I can become more divine, and this is our greatness. And every day it's a new battle. So even if you win the battle today, right, you don't win the war. Every day till the last seconds that we are in order, this is the major name of the game. Let me just go up a little bit more. Some other people that are here asking, let's see lots of James. Let me see if I can find somebody else who's asking. Melissa, how do I get back with kids? So I died, I feel well. Okay. And some people did share with us that they did feel that, and that's very nice to hear that you did feel that. And I think if somebody is very sensitive and you sense energy, or you're a very feeling person, you will feel incredible forces. Many times in your own house, you feel or you sense certain spirits walking. Some people can see that. These are usually deceased spirits that are walking in your house. They are not archangels. And sometimes they're good. Sometimes they come because they're just walking through. And sometimes they are evil and need some kind of protection. Depends how you feel. And the answer to that usually, go around the house with sage. I'm sorry, I didn't prepare this. I have this area around the house. You burn some sage, you go around the house from right to left, any hour of the day. It can be day or night. And you sage the house around. And those spirits not come into your, again, they're not archangels, but they are spirits that enter your space and can sometimes not do well. James is asking, we are all tempted and have feelings to maybe sin. So what can we do to keep this archangel at bay? It sounds like we are doomed. Okay, let me ask this. Once we summon these evil angels, how can we reverse the course? Very good. Very excellent question. So that is the point. The point is we are not doomed, because I understand. Angels, what we feel is not a feeling or a thought. We feel a much lower kind of thing, which we call as humans urge or crave. And therefore, because I'm a feeling person, I've got a heart, I've got a mind, I can sit down quietly to kind of negate it. You know, some 1,000 years ago, and I'm going to go now back to China, we're going to travel around the world, one of the great emperors of China said, and this is a real story, that for 12 generations, this one family always had peace. You know, peace around this family, love and happiness. And he was wondering, how is it possible with so many kids around and wives and generations? So he summoned up the old grandfather and asked him, tell me what is the secret of making sure for 12 generations there's so much peace in this family. So in Chinese, which I don't know how to write, of course, every letter is a drawing. So he drew for him on one big page, one drawing, and that picture said patience. If we are impulsive, if we are angry, if we're full of ego, there is no way that then James' question is true. We can definitely fall into temptation or into anger management, and we will sin, we will fall. But if we know how to negate it, if we have some patience, we invest some thinking, some deep thought, some contemplation, observation into what we do, and we weigh this versus this. For example, gambling. Don't go with your credit card and $1,000 to Desert Diamond Casino we have in Arizona, because you will feel what you need there is the hope that you will definitely going to win. But you don't know that the algorithm, that the minute that you're investing so much money, you're going to lose everything at the end of the day. And if you haven't been there, go there and you'll try that. What you should do is negate this. Go with just $100, whatever you want to spend. Do not take a credit card. Don't do it. Don't bring into your house the chocolate if you know that you have diabetes. Do not bring into your house drugs, this and that, if you know that you're going to fall into this. Do not go out to pubs if you know that you're going to drink and then you're going to drive, DUI. Don't put yourself in that situation. In other words, you will always be given that choice, that opportunity to rise above that edge, and you don't have to do it. And you see if there's anything or anyone else. Mike, do you have any one more questions or something that you want to ask, or we good? Or anyone wants to actually come online and ask, they can hear you.
It looks like there are no more questions at the moment. So I guess you guys, if you want to unmute yourselves, and if you guys have any questions or comments to make, please feel free.
Absolutely. Have any more questions, or you want to privately, whatever it is, if you're more comfortable, this is my email over there. Nice and simple, and you can use this. If you want to ask any question, please go ahead. I don't bite usually. I'm just as human as you, flesh and blood. I checked this morning. So feel free to ask.
I just wanted to say thank you for your time.
More than welcome.
There was another question that James asked. He says, as a kid, I thought the Bible spoke of two different gods. Marcion, who wrote the very first New Testament, believed the Old Testament God was an evil demigod, and the New Testament God was a true God that sent his Son to save us from oppression from the Old Testament God. This I could speak a little bit on as well. There are Gnostic texts that were discovered, I think, in the Nag Hammadi Library in Egypt, which did date to around that time, the time of the historical Jesus. And there are writings that claim to be have been written by Adam to his son Seth, where Adam explains that he was created by a lesser being, not the creator, the true creator, and that the God of truth, as Adam calls him in this text, is the real God. So, so that's just what I know about that. Dr. Gil, what do you have to say on that matter?
No, look, we started before, as we spoke in the past, that we are not going to allow this platform to be used for this or that kind of religion and to bash at each other with that. But all in all, we do know, as a fact, I'm only going to say some facts. We definitely do know that the New Testament is based on the Old Testament. We do know that all the religions in the East, Zen, Buddha, etc., they are all the great-grandchildren of Abraham, as it clearly says in the Bible. We definitely saw that Christianity is based on the children that came through Isaac, came through Esau, from years until today. So we have a clear direction and tradition with that. So what I usually do is that I respect not on a religious level, but on a human level. Each individual, we are all the same. Now, I do know from having many Christian friends, some of them are chaplains and doctors, etc., people of such also in the Christian world, that belief is something so deeply ingrained, anchored into each one of us, it's impossible to negate, it's impossible to challenge. And if you see around the world, most wars that have been with incredible bloodshed has been around religions, whether it's in the Middle East, whether it's in the past between Christian crusades till Japan and China, North Africa. So I strongly believe that each person, as of now, should hold to his belief. If that belief is good for you, that's fine. The common thing amongst all the three, or rather four, major religions of the world, which is Judaism, Islam, Christianity, and Buddhism, And many Buddhists do go this way. If you listen to Shaolin, who's in Germany and in China, is that all of us do believe in the one unified God. If we go outside the outsource religion and we go to quantum physics, and I should know as a scientist, then it's very simple. We all do believe, there's no belief over there, it's just a simple fact of nature. There's one unified consciousness of God permeating the universe, all loving, all good, where all possibilities are there, and we can tap into this, and that's something that we delve into very deeply with depth psychology, depth quantum physics the last quite a while. And then there's no argument between us. So what we argue about is who's the right prophet, or through which channel God has spoken through. So, but if we leave that out, we all do believe in one God, and we all do believe that we are humans and created creatures of God, created in His image. We all do believe that we are children of God. We all do believe that we share this beautiful planet, and rather than destroying it with our arguments and fights over religion, we can try to find a very large common denominator between us. We all agree that any lecture that I usually speak about, this is common knowledge for all humanity, wherever you are and whatever, and if you want to adapt it to yourself. So I'd rather that people that join me in this humble space will find the common between us rather than trying to bash each other. I'm better than you. This previous one is negated and that's evil. The evil is only in the hearts of human beings. There is no evil. Nature is not evil. When a lion goes after and divides a zebra, he's just following his urges. He doesn't think that it's evil. He just says, thank you to the zebra for becoming part of him. But we as human beings, we've got lots of evil inside us, and we share this. And it's got nothing to do with religion. It's got to do with us as human beings, whether we decide to use it or abuse it, to become bitter or better. We decide to do the good and choose that or not. Again, I didn't mention anyone from the Old Testament. I mentioned Mama Teresa, I mentioned Mahatma Gandhi, I mentioned Nelson Mandela, I mentioned Martin Luther King. The good people. I mentioned people in Denmark that saved Jewish people from the Holocaust and the incredible threat of being killed themselves in their own homes for years, under towns of their own home. So many good people around this world. Schindler did incredible things, immaterial and of religion. So this is the real task that we have. So rather that we find common denominator and find rather what separates us. Because if you look at that, there's a lot.
I agree. And I was raised a Christian. My dad was a minister, and then they divorced, ironically. Yeah. But I fell way away.
Sorry to hear that.
That's okay. I fell way away from God, but I found myself back, and when I came back, I refused to believe, like some of my Christian brothers and sisters, that Muslims or Hindus or anyone that don't believe like them is going to hell. I don't believe that. I think all rivers lead to the same ocean. I think God is too big for just one religion. And I honestly believe, like today, modern day Christians will say that Muslims and Christians don't worship the same God. I think they do. Back in the day of Moses, they obviously worshiped the same God. And that's what got me turned on to the Kabbalah. And I don't know much about it, but it's very interesting to me. I think a lot of Jesus's teachings were somewhat mystic in a way, and like above everybody's head.
No question about it. Yes. Right. I agree with you. I completely agree with you. It was very mystical. And again, if this is something that you were born into and that you're raised with and that you love and that you enjoy and it speaks to you, and through that you come to God, and this is your way of really feeling divinity, inspired, close to divinity. When you pray, you feel you're being answered, and it works for you in the everyday. Who am I to come and negate a belief? It's so well ingrained inside the person for so many tons of generations. Not simple person like me. I'm not even trying to take it away. I accept you and love you for who you are, as you are, and if that's what works for you. And many people, you can have a complete atheist that in some way can be much better than some people who speak for religion and do terrible things, like we read in the newspapers. So it's not the end of the story about religion. Rather, let's find a corner. I thank you very much. I don't want to hold all of you captive. Thank you very much, all of you, for coming, and I hope to see you soon. I gave you my email. If you have real questions that you want to deal with or personal interest in any kind of a session, please do call me, or you're welcome to call Mike as well. We thank Michael Ray very much for being our host, and we thank every one of you for coming. Thank you so much, and good night. God bless.
All right.
Good night. Thank you.
Okay, thank
And
you,
good night.
guys. Thank you, everybody. Now, I just got to close this for the replay real quick. I just want to thank everybody for joining us this week. Remember, next week, same time, same place, we will hopefully be getting our new app up and running soon. We will be having all of our past episodes posted up on there. I hope you will be able to join us next time. Please remember, if you're watching on Facebook, please follow the Mental Health, Spirituality, Mysticism, and Metaphysics Facebook group. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for new videos and updates for when new videos will be posted. Thank you again, everybody. This was yet another great class and discussion. Of course, I'd like to thank Dr. Gil for putting together this lecture and putting so much effort into getting this knowledge and information out there to the public. Thank you all, and I hope, again, to see you next time. Have a great morning, afternoon, or night. I'm Mike Ray, and this was Inner Secrets Revealed Kabbalah Class with Dr. Gil. Thanks for joining us, everybody.